So the way the story goes is, how does the story go? The story goes, yo, that quickly I forgot. It was such a brilliant idea, and I totally forgot it. I'm just a person. Let me just give myself a second to see if I can remember that thought. Right, there was children. There was this group of children that um, they were not given any shots. They didn't get any they didn't get any shots at birth. So there's this group of children that had been kept away from all type of shots, all type of medicines, medications, and all that. And it was like some sort of like what appeared to be some sort of like testing thing that happened. There was like this huger, bigger agenda, and it was like they knew that there was going to be this particular time where this group of people were going to have children, and they were able to like kind of like have them in regular sight, in plain sight, but um the children became they were taught about this afterlife and how that they will always live forever, and they will be in like these huge powerful positions, and these huge powerful positions they would be able to remember how they were able to link themselves to these every time let's say they died or whatever have you. So you have this whole group of people that are, let's say, second or third generation, that are teaching their children that if they abstain from these certain things, like, pesticides, whatever it is, um, and you can tap into this soul, so to speak. You can tap into your soul so that when you do come back, you actually remember the last time you were there. So it takes, let's say, three generations. The story has to be believable. At least three generations of this calculated way of teaching about the afterlife and about your soul, and how your soul is this energy and this energy source, and this energy source allows you to um, continue to kind of like get it right. Because let's say you possibly are here half a dozen times to an infinite number of times. You're constantly coming back. And then there's this war that's going on between good and evil. And then I always joke about, and how dare you think that you know the difference between what is good and what is evil. One man's good and is another man's evil, and vice versa. And the story is about this group of people that were able to still continue to come back, like their souls are able, and they're able to remember their past and be able to make certain different kind of adjustments so that they all can all end up in this higher position. In this, whenever they come back, they won't come back basically with flies all over their face in some sort of horrible living condition somewhere in Asia, or Africa, in your mind, from the 70s and 80s and all that kind of stuff, where we know that Africa is very affluent and it's beautiful and it's rich with all those things. I don't need anybody running after me about that. So Here's the thing. The thing is, you're born here, you die here, you keep coming back, you keep coming back. These are just these meat suits that we're wearing. We're wearing these proverbial meat suits. These meat suits are just like a loner, like me. I've tested my meat suit out like ridiculously, with the, gout and all that kind of stuff. So you start thinking about the soul of you that's going to survive this and move on to another body or another meat suit that has no memory of what it once was. And that's because they are stifling that whatever it is. People, they call it the pineal gland. It calcifies and all that. What calcifies it? Maybe from birth they're able to slow that down and shut that down. So you're not going to remember anything from your past. They got that under control. So there's this group of people that are trying to fight this war, and they are able to, after a few generations, every time that person comes back, it's coming back in a better situation. It's not in Africa with the flies. It actually is in these amazing, beautiful homes and amazing, and maybe that's why some people at a certain age, like 17, 18, that's schizophrenia. Maybe you can tie in. By the way, this is a fictional story in my head that just popped up in my head. And I was thinking, I need to share this story because I always have so many of these stories. And these stories are interesting because they play into this mindset that we have, that we wish we were like, I wish we could just do it again. And, we wish that we can have another try at it. Give me a mulligan or whatever they call that when they do in the golf. And I thought it was kind of interesting how in my mind it popped up that what if from birth we're being stifled from our true self? So is this a fictional story? Of course it's fictional because I'm just spitballing ideas. And these are ideas that people have played with for quite some time. I'm not no, savant over here hitting you with all that eye-opening things, but I am an idea guy, and I am the dreamer, I am the optimist, I am the guy who does that. So I found it interesting how in my mind, this guy, like, it just was like kind of like, I'm putting the thought in my head about this person who's at this huge high level and is doing everything that they can to save all of us somehow from the inevitable. Not only will you not remember who you are, you're just not coming back the same. And when you're coming back, you might be placed on some sort of like spectrum. And now you're on this like spectrum going through life under these new conditions that are not new to man. So there is a war possibly going on in this storyline, and we have to, cheer for the underdog that's going to take generations after generations after generations after generations of remembering and not being able to tell anyone, to then have to be able to tell your children these things. And, in a world where you could be looked at as crazy, I think this is like perfect, great story. I could do episode after episode, series after series, and layers and layers and layers of characters with this show. And this is one aspect of Big Elvis the Chef Rosenberg that you might not have known. You are appreciated, and I love you.